Today, we're going to talk about something that goes way beyond just numbers and statistics. We're looking at the very real human cost of economic hardship in Nigeria. This is about a feeling, an emotional exhaustion that's kind of settled over an entire nation.
It all starts with this feeling, something you can't exactly measure, but it's absolutely there. The sources we're diving into describe it perfectly as a tiredness in the air, like a collective sigh just hanging over everything.
And it's not just about being physically worn out. No, it's a look, a quiet weight, this heaviness you can literally see in people's eyes. It's the look of someone carrying a burden that feels way bigger than just their own.
But maybe the most powerful place you feel it, it's in the silence. The kind of quiet that falls after people try to talk about the future, when all the plans and dreams just sort of stop and there's nothing left to say.
Right, so what is this feeling really? We're going to start by unpacking this whole emotional climate, trying to get past the headlines to understand this shared sense of exhaustion.
And to really get our heads around this, we have to see how it affects real people. So we're going to look at two personal stories that show you exactly what happens when the dreamers start to get exhausted.
Okay, first up, let's talk about Ibrahim. Now, this is a guy who did everything right. He followed the playbook, Went to school, graduated, landed a good job. He did everything he was supposed to do. But then, that whole promise just crumbled. The value of his salary, it basically just vanished into thin air. So, how did that happen? Well, it wasn't just one thing. Inflation went through the roof, fuel prices doubled, and then, all of a sudden, just getting to and from work was eating up half of his entire income. The result? His money was gone way before the end of the month.
And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures the quietness of his whole struggle. See, Ibrahim wasn't lazy. He was just tired. Hopelessness isn't always some big dramatic breakdown. Sometimes, it's just the silence of a man staring at a wall, wondering how on earth things got this hard.
Now let's switch gears and talk about Ada. She's a recent graduate, and her story shows a totally different side of this exhaustion. She feels like she's trapped between two different worlds. On one side, you have the dream of leaving. She sees her friends on social media living these lives in Canada or the UK. But on the other side is the reality of staying. Endless job applications, life feeling like it's on pause, just feeling completely and utterly stuck.
You see, this kind of pressure, it doesn't just stay with one person. It seeps into everything, especially the family. So let's look at how this hardship is fundamentally changing the kinds of conversations that are even happening at home.
And just look at this. This table lays out the change so starkly. Conversations that used to be about the future, about school fees, new business ideas, building a house, they've been replaced. Now it's all about pure, short-term survival. Let's just survive this month. Let's see how next week goes. Big dreams have been swapped for just getting by. So what happens when conversations change like this? Well, the result is profound. Hope itself becomes this incredibly fragile thing. It's something people only talk about softly, almost in a whisper, as if saying it too loud might actually break it.
And all of this, it brings us right to the heart of the matter, a quiet, growing crisis. It's time we actually put a name to the unspoken mental and emotional toll that this constant pressure is taking on everyone.
And this is such a critical point. The hopelessness people are feeling, it isn't some kind of personal weakness or a character flaw. Not at all. It's a deeply human response to living under the weight of a system that just feels too heavy to bear.
I mean, think about it. When you can't afford the basics, food, transport, a sense of dignity, the consequences are pretty predictable, right? This chart shows you exactly what that toll looks like. Anxiety goes up, depression starts to grow, anger spreads, and of course, dreams get smaller and smaller.
But you might be thinking, well, what about the people who managed to leave? As we saw with Ada's story, just getting out of the country isn't some magic fix. For a lot of people, the struggle just moves to a new location, new kinds of stress, loneliness, starting all over again from scratch. This quote really says it all. Hope is not guaranteed by geography.
And this is what's called the quiet damage. When you're constantly struggling, you start to ask yourself these really tough questions like, what's the point? How much longer can I keep doing this? And these questions, they aren't a sign of failure. They're a sign of being human in a situation that feels impossible.
Okay, so after all of that heavy reality, you have to ask, where do we go from here? This last section is all about why just talking about this stuff is so incredibly important, and what the first steps toward healing could even look like. The core message here is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful.
Acknowledging that people are hurting is not a sign of weakness, not for a person and not for a nation. In fact,